Hi Scorpio, welcome to your December 2019 Astrology 33 reading. Thank you to those of you who've liked, viewed, shared, subscribed, and donated to the channel. I appreciate all of that. And for those of you interested in booking a personal reading with me, just to let you guys know, I actually won't be offering those until probably the second week of December. I'll definitely make an announcement on the channel when I figure out what date that'll be, so keep an eye out for that. And as far as what we have in front of us, we have a Celtic cross spread as always, some extra cards that came out there. And I actually pulled a couple of oracle cards for us as always as well, which we'll get through after we get through the main spread, and a mudra card. So let's get started. In the position of the main situation, we have the Knight of Pentacles. So this is actually a Virgo energy. So some of you could be dealing with a Virgo, but more than that, for a lot of you, I feel like this might be extending the olive branch in some way, shape, or form. Maybe this is you trying to repair a friendship, for example, since for you guys, Virgo is your house of friendships. And, maybe it could be as simple as, let's say, for the holidays, you're going back home and you're going to see someone you haven't seen in a while that maybe you had a falling out with. So maybe you're going to be trying to communicate with them and get the connection back on track. It's just the most generic example that comes to mind. I think that could be what I'm seeing here. For others of you, this could actually be related to an offer you're waiting on, maybe even regarding work. And the reason I say that is because in the challenger obstacle position, we have the King of Wands. So sometimes this is seen as a boss energy. So that's why I say, maybe this is something you're waiting on. Maybe you're waiting to hear news of a year-end bonus, for example, or maybe just some kind of a raise, maybe even a promotion. But with this coming up in the challenge position, that could just be saying that that's the holdup. That, whoever your boss may be, they may actually be the ones holding up this offer coming through to you for whatever reason. You guys would probably know why that would be the case more than me. And I have to say with this card as well, especially like I was mentioning so many holidays, no matter where you are in the world in December, this could even be maybe some of you trying to repair a relationship with your fathers as well. So that could be what's going on there. And then, of course, naturally, this could just be you trying to get things back on track with a Leo. So there are a few different ways that those energies could be playing out. In the foundation position, we have the Hermit, the Eight of Wands, and the Six of Swords. So interesting combination of cards here too. Again, we have Virgo energy, so some of you could definitely be dealing with the Virgo as well, or again, this can be pointing to friendships. And if it's friendships, this could even be just you reevaluating your friendships as a whole. And, looking back on communication with them, perhaps, and possibly even decide to leave some of those friendships behind. That's one way it could be playing out with those energies. Again, this could also be pointing to maybe some of you actually just looking back on some communication. So let's say, for those of you who live in the States, for example, maybe you went home for Thanksgiving, right? And maybe that's where there might have been some kind of a falling out with a family member or a friend. And you're just looking back over the communication. Because the reason why I say that could be the case is this is an Aquarius card. And for you guys, Aquarius represents your fourth house of home and family. So, this could just be you looking back on some conversations that were had there and maybe again deciding possibly to patch things up, or maybe deciding that moving on would be best. Could play out either way. In the past position, we have the Six of Pentacles. So this could just be saying that maybe at one point this was a connection, whatever this connection may be, that was balanced. And obviously it looks like now that might not be the case. So maybe you're just reflecting back on the fact that there was a balance in this connection at one point. Another way this could be playing out too, though, this is actually a card of Taurus. And I'm recording this in the middle of November. So basically this could be, given that it's in the past position for a December reading, this could be pointing back to the full moon that took place in Taurus as well, which was a near opposite sign. So that might be what this is referring to as well. So this could even be maybe some kind of an ending that took place around the romantic relationship, or pretty much any partnership, given that seventh house is partnerships in general. In the present position, we have the Emperor. So the first thing that comes to mind with this for me is that Mars is actually going to be in your sign all of December, pretty much. At the time I'm recording this, it's not there yet, but it'll be there, I think, a couple days before the sun leaves Scorpio. So this could just be pointing to, now that you have that Mars energy in your first house, this could be the energy you're taking on. Or again, if this is something around the workplace, could just be pointing to your boss again. And especially because for you guys too, Aries represents your sixth house of work too. So this could definitely be a boss that you're dealing with. And like I said, maybe there's some hold up around some kind of bonus or a raise that you're supposed to be getting, and they could really be digging their feet in. So that could be what's at play there. You might find them to be a bit controlling too with the Emperor energy. And again, this could also be something else that points to a father figure as well. So like I said, maybe there was some kind of a spat that you might have had with a family member, possibly your father, during, let's say, like I said, generic example, Thanksgiving, and now you're trying to see if you could get that fixed up by the time of Christmas, let's say, you know. Near future position, we have Justice, Page of Wands, and Six of Cups in reverse. So this is interesting here too, because with the Justice card in the near future, this could just be, again, pointing to an attempt to restore that balance, right? Because we see the Six of Pentacles energy in the past with the scales. We see the scales here again. So this could just be, and with that Knight of Pentacles basically moving right toward that. That's what makes me think that this could all be related. You know, it's like someone trying to restore balance from the past. What's interesting with that, though, is this fire sign you could be dealing with. Well, this could be playing out in a few different ways. For one, I feel like they're ready to just start over, but possibly not in this connection, meaning they're ready to just move on from it. That's one way that could be potentially playing out. Another way it could be playing out too, though, is to say that given that we have the Leo energy here, the Aries energy here, but they're definitely, you know, King and Emperor energy, maybe as you're trying to restore the balance with them, you might find that they're being a bit childish around the whole situation. You know what I mean? And then maybe that's where the Six of Cups in reverse comes into play, where either you might decide that, you know what, it's not even worth trying to restore the balance with this, because I refer to this card in the upright as the being the bigger person card sometimes, as far as extending an olive branch, because, you know, it looks like there's the size difference between the two of them, and he's extending the cup to the other person. So that could be the dynamic in play there, where, you know, you might approach it like, all right, let me be the bigger person, because obviously usually in most conflicts there takes two participants, right? So, you know, maybe you just decide, you know what, let me be the bigger person. I feel bad about the way the situation went down. Let me try to fix things. And, you know, they might be acting a little petty still, right? Even if we want to look at it as, if you are representing that night energy and you're moving toward them to apologize, they have their back turned, right? So that could be what's going on there for some of you. Let me see if anything else comes to mind. And, you know, can be pointing back to the same thing, like I said, where maybe some of you are leaving some connections behind from the past, because we saw that Six of Swords energy in the foundation, and maybe these are long-standing friendships you might have had for a long time, and you're just deciding, you know what, it's time for me to move on from them and just start something fresh, because the Page of Wands is looking at the Death card in the environment, which is your card actually, so can be pointing to you just wanting to move forward and leave some connections in the past behind. Yeah, definitely seems to be some kind of a holdup in restoring balance. That's the primary thing I'm feeling. It might just be temporary, but that's what I'm seeing there. And your energy toward the situation, we have the Nine of Swords. So this represents having a lot of anxiety around the situation. So I feel like it is probably you who is trying to put in more of an effort to restore the balance. Now, to be fair, the reason why you might feel that way might be because maybe this imbalance was due to your actions, right? I mean, to be fair, you know, especially even though, let's say this did happen during Thanksgiving, it's just to continue the generic example I mentioned. Maybe you have an argument at Thanksgiving dinner, right? technically Mercury would be out of retrograde by then, but it'll still be in the shadow period. And then you're going to have Mars in your sign opposing Uranus around that same time too. So that could lead to some sudden outbursts in that regard too. So maybe this is something that you sincerely do feel bad about, right? So now you're like, all right, well, how am I going to fix this? And then, not to mention, this is a Gemini energy, represents the middle 10 degrees of Gemini, and we're going to have a full moon in those degrees. So, and that being your eighth house and you being the natural ruler of the eighth house, it might just really be looping in your mind around that time. So, that could be what that's all pointing to. But again, like I said, the retrograde was in your sign too, so obviously it would impact you more than most other people. So it's understandable if maybe you did, step out of line in some way, but at the same time, you might have to now wait for them to come out of their petty energy if they're being a little petty about it. So maybe that's the issue, right? In the environment position, we have the Death card. So this is the major arcana card for your sign. So if this in the environment, again, this could just be pointing to, for those of you who are wanting to move on from connections, like I said, maybe some of you are outgrowing some of your friendships and deciding to move on from them. Others of you, it can be you who's actually trying to repair some connections in the past, but they might be in the mode right now where they're like, well, I'm just ready to leave it behind. Like I said, given the energies at play, I wouldn't necessarily look at that as a guarantee that they're always going to feel that way, but at least for the time being, you might have to wait a little longer for the dust to settle. And before I forget to mention it too, at the bottom of the deck here, we do have the Moon card. So definitely look for some significance to that full moon, because like I said, that's in your eighth house, and eighth house energy is something you're very familiar with. And then on top of that, there's a new moon eclipse taking place in Capricorn towards the end of the month, which is your house of communication. And that's actually going to have some real supportive energy with it. So if there is some kind of communication issues you do need to resolve, good thing is that full moon is right around Christmas time too. So for those of you, if you are planning to restore balance during the holidays, that might be a good time to do so, because that new moon is going to be more or less conjunct Jupiter. And then it's also going to be trine Uranus. So think of it this way. Like I said, especially if there was some kind of spat that might have happened while Mars was opposite Uranus, those energies now coming in and trining Uranus could actually help restore the balance there. So something to keep in mind. In the hopes or fears position, we had a lot come out. We have the Three of Swords, the High Priestess, Strength in reverse, and the Nine of Cups in reverse. So this is interesting as well. Definitely an interesting collection of cards, but let's start with the Three of Swords. We're going to obviously assume that that would be a fear and not a hope, right? So it could just be saying that you're fearing possibly, this being an actual real ending, right? Whatever this connection is, you might feel like you can't repair it. Might feel like you can't trust your intuition to get things back on track, and maybe not having the strength to actually repair the connection. And then with the Nine of Cups being the wish fulfillment card, saying that, you can't get your wish fulfilled, which is to heal the connection. That's just one way that this could play out. Since there's so many cards, we'll try to look at some other ways. For some of you, you could absolutely be dealing with a Leo as well, because like I said, we had the King of Wands there in a challenged position. And I think in recent readings, either in your readings or in their readings, there was like a Scorpio-Leo dynamic going on. So could be what's going on there. And again, that could also, since I saw that energy with the King of Wands and Emperor, this could be pointing to maybe trying to repair a connection with your father. And lastly, this one might sound a little bit weird, but another way that I could be seeing this as well is maybe some of you are actually trying to get rid of an addiction of some kind. So maybe that's where your struggle's been. Like maybe you're trying to give up drinking, let's say. Like let's say you have a drinking problem, And maybe the friend group that you're in is part of that problem, right? So maybe that's why you're trying to sever those ties. You're like, all right, every time I hang out with this group of friends, I get into trouble and I get caught up in all the drinking and the partying, right? So maybe you're trying to leave that group behind. And with this representing Libra energy, which is your 12th house, you know, you really might be having trouble kicking the habit. So that could be what's going on there. It's probably going to be a very, very small percentage of you, but that is something that did come to my mind. The good thing we have going here, no matter which of those 5 million scenarios we were talking about during this reading, is that in the outcome position we have the World card. So this represents successful completion, usually of karmic lessons. So these are usually pretty big scale things. So again, like I said, whether it was some kind of a friendship you were trying to repair, and maybe, like I said, even if you did put in your best effort with the Justice card, right, and the other person didn't receive it, even just making that effort could be a completion in that regard, right, which is to say you did your part. Now the other person would have to do theirs, right, and maybe they just need more time to do it, or maybe they won't come around at all, I don't know. But that could be what's at play there. And I do view this as Capricorn energy, and you guys have a lot of energy going on there, obviously. You already have had the South Node there for a bit. Saturn, Pluto's been there for a long time, which is your ruler, and that's all in your house of communication. So in recent years, you might have found that, you know, what you do and don't say could have real heavy karmic repercussions with all those planets. So maybe you're feeling the weight of that in some way, shape, or form. But this coming through here in the upright does show that there was some kind of successful completion in that area. That's primarily what I'm picking up on for you guys, or ever. Is that it is around communication. And maybe that's just with the fact that now Jupiter is moving in that sign as well, as if it wasn't crowded enough, right? So, you know, Jupiter is often referred to as the sign of the planet of luck, but beyond that, it's also expansion too. So sometimes it'll actually point out what's wrong with the situation in order for you to be able to actually fix the situation. So one of those might get worse before it gets better things, you know. But like I said, definitely keep an eye on that new moon eclipse if you guys do need to heal something around communication, because that would give you a lot of supportive energy to do so. All right, moving on to your oracle cards. First, we have To Be Fair. So now we have 3 cards with scales, because we see the scales here. We had the 6 of Pentacles in the past, the Justice card in the near future. So this might give you some additional insight on how to restore balance in a situation. But yeah, there's the artwork, and the number is 38. So interestingly enough, if you're dealing with a Leo, maybe they were born on August 3rd, for example. So let's see what we have here. Okay, it says balance, justice, a need to consider options, mutual benefit, the law of cause and effect. The Oracle's message. Life offers experiences that are challenging and experiences that are nourishing, yet over time they strike a balance. You move from being, from stasis, to doing, from discovering, to loving, to letting go, to being again. Life is a pendulum swinging between all of these states. You will always oscillate back and forth between doing and being. If you are not content with where you are at this moment, remember that all experiences have their place. Accept them without judgment, and you will see how the universe adjusts in perfect balance. You reap what you sow. For every cause there is an effect. Wondrous things will be revealed now. So what's interesting there, especially for those of you who are dealing with Leo, that made me think about the fact that they're just, if I remember their reading correctly, they're just really busy this month. So it could even just be something more small scale like that, where maybe this is what this is pointing to, where maybe you're coming to the realization that, okay, in the past, you know, they've picked up the slack when I've needed them to, and now maybe they're so wrapped up and busy with some other things that now this is you trying to put in more effort to keep things balanced in that regard, you know. All right. The relationship message says, can you find a way to achieve fairness right now? This is a time for listening as well as speaking, for understanding as well as asking to be understood. There is much to be learned, and you will learn if you remain open and objective, weighing options and considering all sides. Your heart wants to connect to others, so allow for a balanced exchange of ideas and actions. The best kind of relationship is one in which there is mutual benefit, and each party feels heard, valued, and respected. Be fair to all. So yeah, that definitely could be a theme with the relationship, whatever it is. Like I said, whether it's you and a father figure, you and a friend, maybe even a group of friends, right? Maybe it's all around balance and trying to be fair. So hopefully that resonated for you guys in some way. The prosperity message says, now is a time for even exchanges. Justice will prevail and you will be treated accordingly. In all your affairs, you will be able to negotiate fair settlements. Mutual gain is the gift to you and your partners and colleagues. This is also a good time to square your finances and take stock of how you're compensated for your work. This card signifies balance, justice, and negotiations, so remember that all things must be fairly recompensed. Keep this as your truth, and so it will be. So definitely an interesting message there too. Like I said, maybe there is some kind of a boss that you're dealing with in your workplace that might be restricting you getting some kind of a raise or bonus in some way, and with the justice will prevail thing, maybe that's what that's pointing to. For some of you, maybe some of you even do take it as far as to go the legal route, and then maybe what that could be saying here then with the Page of Wands is that that's them being taken down a couple pegs, right? Like as far as, okay, you definitely have to pay up here. So, but that's probably very unlikely, but at least maybe for a few of you, that might be what's going on. All right, and then next we have Peacock Spirit. It says, let it shine. There's the artwork, and the number is 46. Okay, it says, when is the last time you shook a tail feather and shined your light for all to see? Within each of us is a peacock spirit yearning for expression, and you are called now to show the world the gorgeous creature you are, for you are a manifestation of spirit. Come out of the shadows, Peacock Spirit says, and show your true colors so that others may be inspired to express their own exquisiteness. Dance as if you remember that you are made of stardust and grace, filled with life force, energy, and sparkling light. You are a channel for divine love, and your dance is one of a kind. Catch the light and help it to shimmer, and dance in celebration of your good fortune of being right here, right now. Spirit wants you to be joyful so that others may get up and dance along with you. So that's an interesting message there too. Maybe it's probably a little bit less likely, but maybe that's even what the King of Wands energy is saying in the challenger obstacle position, is to take on that energy. You know, maybe for those of you who might feel like you're approaching things a bit too seriously, and maybe that's saying by taking a more, jovial approach that might improve the situation as well. But quite frankly, I don't know if this resonated with the main spread as much as the first card, but hopefully you guys got something from that either way. And maybe it's even just saying that, maybe when you guys had Mars moving through your 12th house, you just didn't have the energy for these things, and maybe now, with it moving into your sign in December, you will. So that could be one way I could see that playing out too. All right, moving on to your mudra card for the month. This is your mudra here. It's the Vishuddha Chakra mudra, and the keyword for it is communication. So if there is some kind of communication issues, this might help with that as well. Okay, we see for benefits, it says improves the health of the thyroid and parathyroid glands, benefits the voice, reduces tension in the neck, improves communication with self and others, increases sensitivity to the thoughts and feelings of others. So, sounds like that might be something that'd be helpful for you guys if this main situation here did resonate with you guys. So, I'll put the name of that mudra in the description of the video as well if you wanted to look into it a little bit more. We'll wrap up there. Happy holidays, guys, and I'll see you all next year. All right, bye.